Okay, so tonight, you probably guessed, we're going to talk about the Capitol. I think you guys talked about that last week as well. This time we're going to talk about the Capitol and how it relates to the world around us. So those of you who have read the books or seen the movie, what strikes you about the Capitol, the people of the Capitol? What kind of things come to mind?
Clothing is insane, and their hair.
Their clothing and their hair is insane, okay?
They're perky.
They're-
They eat a lot of food. It's not even cool looking.
It's not even cool looking.
Superficial.
Superficial. That's a good word. Would you say perhaps that they are obsessed
The materials.
with material things and with appearances?
Blood.
And
blood.
and blood.
Bloodshed.
And bloodshed. Well, that too. But tonight we're going to focus on their obsession with the material and their obsession with appearances and what everybody should look like, no matter what the cost, right? No matter what it costs to the person or to society in general. So I'm going to start with a quote from, which book was this?
It was Mockingjay.
Mockingjay. Okay. Behind the counter sits the strangest person I have ever seen. She's an extreme example of surgical enhancement gone wrong, for surely, not even in the Capitol can they find this face attractive. The skin has been pulled back tightly and tattooed with black and gold stripes. The nose has been flattened until it barely exists. I've seen cat's whiskers on people in the Capitol before, but not so long. The result is a grotesque, semi-feline mask, which now squints at us distrustfully. So it's kind of hard to even imagine. Can you picture this person as they must appear to Katniss? Because it's kind of far removed from our experience, right? But is this really so different from the world we live in now? What are some parallels? What are some parallels that we can make? What happens now that she talks about in there? What are some things that we do that she says in here?
We rearrange our faces.
We rearrange our faces. Nose jobs, eye lifts, face lifts, chin lifts, tummy tucks. We're very...
And lip like that.
Oh,
What
yes.
is it? Collagen injections. Okay, I got you.
Lip plumping injections.
Fake fingernails.
Oh.
I like those though. Those are kind of cool. I kind of like them.
Fake fingernails. Okay. What about tattoos?
Oh, those are pretty good.
We tattoo our bodies. What about piercings? Exactly. So really, what this describes, even though it's something that seems outside of the realm of our experience, it's really not. It just is done in a different way. So that tells me that this Capitol is a parallel of the world that we live in right now. So I wanted to kind of tell you my story and how I came to this topic, actually, because this topic is very close to my heart. My story starts at age 7. I was the traditional latchkey child, which meant that my mom and my dad both worked, so I walked myself to school and I walked myself back home from school. And after school, I would be home by myself for at least an hour or so. And after school, I would be so hungry. Oh my gosh, lunch was at 11, and by the time I got home, it was 4. I was starving to death. And so what did I do? I ate. Do you think I ate apples? No, I did not. Nobody was home to tell me what to eat or not to eat, so I ate Snickers. I ate butter and sugar sandwiches. I took peanut butter and mixed it with my grape jelly to make purple peanut butter. And it wasn't a teaspoon of peanut butter, it was a big old glop of it. And as much peanut butter as I could, or jelly as I could get in there to make it a nice purple color like her shirt. And then I would eat it.
That would have been fun.
Oh yeah, it was great fun. It was great fun until I started getting chubby. I was getting chubbier and chubbier. So at 7 years old is when I started getting a little chubby. So when I was 8 years old, I went with a friend of mine who was very active, of course. I was not active. I watched television and I read books and I played imaginary games in my room, but I didn't go out and play soccer. I didn't go out and ride bikes. That was too hot. It was too sweaty. It was too dirty. It was too, ooh, no, not going to do it. So my friend, who was very active, said, "Why don't you come watch me play soccer?" And I said, "Okay." Now, remember, I'm only 8 years old. I don't play sports, so I don't know rules. I don't know how things work. And I'm standing on the sidelines just as prim and proper as can be. And the ball goes out of bounds, right by me. And in my little 8-year-old mind, I'm thinking, uh-oh, what should I do? Should I run after the ball? Am I allowed to touch the ball? I'm not playing in the game. I'm not part of the game. Is that against the rules for me to touch the ball? I don't know. All this is going on in my head, okay? And up comes this real tall, thin boy, and I'll never forget his name, Jeremy Fort. If you ever know a Jeremy Fort, run the other way, okay? So he comes running up, and he says, "Move out of the way, fatso." Ouch. Ouch. So that was the first time I felt shame. I felt shame. I was the fat kid. And everybody knew it because he just validated that to me. He called me that. I'm the fat kid. So that started my hate relationship with my body. The hate relationship that has continued clear until today. But that's not the end of the story at all. When I was 9, I committed the unforgivable sin. I started puberty. Well before my peers. So while all my friends were skinny little children, I was already growing into a woman. I had things. I had curves. I had fat where everybody else was thin, and I was already chubby as it was. And so my hope that one day that I would be normal, one day that I would be just like everybody else, was dashed. It was dashed. And you know, back in those days, they thought that boys who hit puberty early, they're lucky. They're seen as leaders. They're seen as people to look up to because they're already men, right? And boys want to be that. But girls suffer very negative effects from going into puberty early. So we have difficult body images. We have no way of understanding how to cope with having a woman's body. We're not old enough for that. We're not ready for that. We're not ready for boys to look at us in that way. And we aren't. And it does something to your psyche. And it kind of is a deep scarring. So that's kind of what set the platform for the rest of my life. When I was in high school, you know, I was taller. I've never been the thin kind. Never. And I never will be. And that's okay. I'm muscular. Even when I'm at my thinnest, I'm muscular. I'm not, teeny. I'm not petite. I'm not fragile. I'm not, so womanly. I'm strong and just different. So when I was in high school, I spent a lot of time exercising, obsessively, running, walking, playing tennis, hour after hour after hour I would do this. And some weeks I would hardly eat anything. Maybe a grapefruit in a day. Maybe just a few bites of my dinner. Oh, I'm full. I don't really need to eat anymore. And then I'd be so hungry I'd binge eat. I would just eat because I was starving to death. Literally starving to death. And it wasn't until I got married, or actually probably when I started dating my husband, when he kind of made me see myself in a different way. And I don't like that it took that to validate my self-worth. So I don't want that for you guys. I want you guys to have what I didn't have for myself. I want you guys to know that you are beautiful and that no matter what your shape, no matter what your size, that you are beautiful and worthy in the eyes of God and everybody. Okay? So I want to show you the first clip.
In the 21st century, we have been exposed to more commercial advertisements than ever before. The average adolescent girl views over 200 unrealistic advertisements on TV per day, bringing a new perception of beauty with each one. The number one issue with teen girls in the world today is poor body image and self-esteem.
Body image is how you see yourself mentally and physically. A healthy body image is one that you can accept and you can look in the mirror and say, I accept that's the way I am.
Airbrush and fake models are everywhere in the media, selling everything from cars to phones.
Makeup ads and body products pretty much just make us feel like really bad about ourselves, and it makes us buy their products, so pretty much like they win. It's their tactic, and we buy the products to pretty much help us build our self-esteem.
When I see these half-naked girls on TV, it makes me start to question everything I thought before. Like, I thought I was fine, healthy, whatever, but then I see these models on TV, and I'm like, wow, am I supposed to look like that? I kind of want to, and so it kind of makes me try to think of how I can do that, and it's not good. I really start to get down on myself, and I look at these perfect bodies, and I start to think, wow, how can I look like that?
One in every 4 teenage girl has admitted to being on a diet.
The first thing the advertisers do is surround us with the image of ideal female beauty. So we all learn how important it is for a woman to be beautiful and exactly what it takes. Women learn from a very early age that we must spend enormous amounts of time, energy, and above all, money, striving to achieve this ideal and feeling ashamed and guilty when we fail.
And I don't really like my weight.
Really?
Yeah, most of my girls in my grade are really slim, like they're tiny, and I'm bigger than them. I don't see myself as big, but I see myself as like right in the middle.
Right.
And I want to be skinny.
study found that elementary school girls were more fearful of gaining weight than getting cancer, having a nuclear war, or losing their parents.
I watch a lot of TV, like 2 to 3 shows per thing. A lot of the commercials also include like half naked people modeling clothing or something.
It changes the way the world kind of looks at beauty, and it changes what we used to think was beautiful, and giving us this new definition that beauty is tall, skinny, photoshopped, and perfect. And it makes us try to have to live up to these images that these models themselves can't even measure up to, and it sets these standards that really aren't healthy for young girls.
I think it's really sad to see how much of an effect that these images have on our lives. Like, I'm definitely affected by them. I know that when I see the pictures and advertisements, it's kind of like a why don't I look like that moment. And I think that's something that lots of people go through, and it's really devastating.
Viewing idealistic and unattainable standards of beauty are in direct correlation with teen depression and suicide.
Having a positive body image is really important for teens because when you feel content with the way that you look, you carry yourself in a more confident way, and you're generally happier if you feel better about how you look. When you're more confident, it's easier for you to put your energy into friendships and family relationships as well as school.
I used to pay attention to the magazines, movies, etc., see what's hot, see what's not, what I should be wearing, how I should look. Then about 5 years ago, I learned to accept myself for who I am and stop paying attention.
Something that we have to keep in mind, remember, is that these people are trying to sell you something. And they can't sell you something unless you need something. So how do they convince you that you need something? By teaching you that you're not perfect. By teaching you that you have to have this makeup, you have to have this diet product, you have to have these clothes, you have to have this body, or else you need their product. They don't care about you. They care about their bottom line, their sales. So you're being used. Don't forget that. Now, sometimes appearances can be deceiving though, right? We talked about photoshopping and airbrushing. What does that mean?
They fix the picture.
They fix the picture. That's right. They take a model who's supposed to be this ideal of beauty, right? And even she's not ideal. Even she has to be fixed. They have to take out blemishes. They have to make the face thinner. They have to make the neck longer. They have to make whatever. But not only that, but what do we know about them by what they look like? Do we know anything? Not really.
What they look like. Because they take so much away.
That's right. We only know the superficial. The superficial. And what God wants for us and what God leads us to is something much deeper and much richer. I want to give you an example. Do any of you guys know who this is? No? It's a good guess. What would you think if you saw this picture?
He's good looking.
He's handsome?
Is it Caitlyn Jenner?
No, it is not Caitlyn Jenner. What else would you think? He's handsome.
He looks like an alternate. He kind of looks like a class president.
He looks like a class president. Okay. So he looks successful, maybe.
He looks like one of those like perfect guys in the older movies. Like in the older movies, they're like, that's the perfect ideal guy.
Or like someone, when you're flipping through your parents' yearbook, you see them.
Yeah.
Old
Like
women.
older.
Yay!
Okay. Would it surprise you to know that this man killed many, many women in the 70s? This is Ted Bundy.
Wow.
He was a serial killer.
Well, that's interesting.
And he was so effective because what? He's the ideal. He's good looking. He was charming, so he could convince the girls to come away with him effectively, and then he killed them. So appearances are not always what they seem. So let's go to the next clip.
That was a big change.
It was a very big change.
She was pretty before they did like everything.
Mhm.
Kind of, she kind of looked like Effie. I mean, but without much makeup.
Mhm.
I remember beforehand, she was pretty and she looked like a normal human being. You know? And they put makeup on her and I was like, oh, she looks like a
Barbie.
well, like not exactly like a Barbie, but like someone who went and got their makeup like professionally done for a big event or something, and then they changed the lighting and it looked like really, really nice professional lighting, and then they went into the Photoshop part of it, and I was like, this is why we all feel terrible about ourselves.
Exactly. Because
They shined her entire body. I was like, that was.
They even lengthened like the.
They
the
lengthened
size
her.
of
I was,
leg.
yeah.
Her leg wasn't long enough. So
Like they
had to
lengthened
lengthen
it
her
this way,
leg.
but they shortened it this way.
they lengthened her neck.
And
They
shoulders.
they
made her
took
eyes smaller.
they made her eyes
They made her
bigger.
feet smaller.
And they trimmed off her tummy and off her booty. Sorry, I was like, what do I call that? A bum, and then it came out boo. Anyway, please edit that out. The point is, how are we supposed to hold ourselves to that when it's not even real?
Take a picture and Photoshop it.
But that's not real of us either. But that's not us, right? Okay. So I want to end with God's word. Does anybody have their Bible? Okay. 1 Samuel.
Oh, goodness. Give me a second, I'll find it.
Okay. There's 3 of them. Does anybody else have their Bible with them?
Got it!
I have mine in the back.
Got it.
Hey, you have one.
I have electronic Bible.
No, I have like 4 though. It's a problem.
It's a
Just because I keep forgetting to put it back after Wednesday.
Okay, 1 Samuel.
Chapter 16, verse 7.
7. Right to 16.
Already in. I think 3 people have their.
Proverbs 31:30. Okay. And if you'll do 1 Peter chapter 3. Okay, go ahead.
All right, 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see people the way you see them.
People judge by the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
Very good. Proverbs 31:30.
Charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised.
Okay. And 1 Peter chapter 3,
Okay.
verses 3 and 4.
Okay. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight.
Okay. So what is the common thread in here? What does God say beauty is? What's in the heart, right? Have you ever known the beautiful, beautiful woman and you get to know her and she's so mean and her spirit is so ugly that she just suddenly becomes less pretty? Or have you ever known the one girl who's maybe not so attractive, but she's so tenderhearted and so sweet, and she smiles and you just think, wow, that is real. That is real beauty. That's what God is saying. So don't let the world tell you what is beautiful. Let the Bible tell you what is beautiful.